Hello, and what is up, Lexi's Leukemia Warrior family? It's been a bit since we have posted a video, and today we wanted to share a cooking video with you. In honor of Father's Day, we are going to make a cobbler for my father-in-law, her papa.
Yeah.
He loves...
And Nana and Papa.
That's right.
Those are Daddy's parents.
That's right. Nana and Papa are Daddy's
and your
parents.
parents are Nana.
And that's right. And my parents, we call them Mama and Papa. So Papa really likes blackberries. So we are going to make for him a blackberry cobbler. Any dessert that has blackberries in it, he is all for it. So as far as cobblers go, you can have the kind that's like more of a crust with the fruit underneath, or you can have the kind that's kind of like cakey with a crust on top. That's the kind we prefer. So I'm actually going to be using a wonderful recipe that I found and tweaked slightly from the Pioneer Woman. She has a great, easy cobbler recipe.
Yeah, and my favorite animal are giraffes.
And your favorite animal are giraffes. Well, isn't that awesome? Not sure what that has to do with blackberry cobbler, but that's an awesome animal, isn't it? So in her recipe, she calls for you to pour everything into a 3-quart baking dish, but that actually makes it thinner and a little bit crunchier, and we like the cakey texture in the middle. That's how he prefers it. So I actually just use like an 8x8 or a 9x9 square pan and just make the recipe as is, and then the batter fills up the pan more. So you can still cook it the same amount of time and everything. It's just a different size pan, so that's what I do. So for this recipe, she says you can use butter to grease the pan. We just went ahead and used this pan baking spray. It's just easier and doesn't waste the butter. Alright, so let's get started. You're just going to need one bowl. That's it. One bowl. You just measure everything in here and then dump it into that pan. That is why I love this recipe. So super simple. Now today I've measured out everything in the individual bowls for the purposes of the video, but if I were just doing this, I would just literally be my measuring spoon straight into this bowl, and then all I would have to wash is this bowl and the measuring spoon. I even use a disposable pan that comes with a plastic lid, so that way I can just give this to him and he can just toss it when he's done. He doesn't have to worry about trying to get a pan back to me. Especially with everything going on right now, we're not really going anywhere or visiting people due to her illness, so that way he doesn't have to get it back to me. So the first thing you need for this recipe is sugar and self-rising flour. Do you want to hold up the self-rising flour that we use?
Sure.
This is the self-rising flour that we use.
And it's red, my
gold
favorite
medal.
color.
And it is red, your favorite color. If you do not have self-rising flour, because sometimes when I make this, I don't always have that on hand or I forget to buy more. I just buy the little small one because the only thing I ever use self-rising flour for is actually this cobbler. So if you want to make self-rising flour yourself, it's really easy. It's literally just a cup of all-purpose flour and then a little bit of salt and a teaspoon and a half of baking powder, because that's all self-rising flour is it has the salt and baking powder added in already rather than you adding it in yourself. So it eliminates a step, but you could just skip buying the self-rising flour, especially most people already have those on hand at home anyway, so sometimes it's not worth it. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to dump this flour into the bowl. This is the 1 cup of self-rising flour.
Whoa, what a flower! There's a lot of flour in there.
That is a lot of flour. Doesn't seem like a lot, but this, it's for 1 cobbler. By the time you add in everything else, it's better.
It's gonna be
Right. This here is going to be
sugar.
1 cup of sugar. I like that the ratios are 1, 1, 1, so it's kind of easy to remember. So you've got 1 cup of self-rising flour. Now we've got 1 cup of plain old white granulated sugar.
Whoa!
So now what you're going to do is you're going to take a whisk, and I'll let Lexi do that.
My whisk.
It is your size. And you're basically just going to whisk the flour and the sugar together to get it all mixed together.
Blue.
So do you want to whisk the flour and the sugar for me? Do you need me to hold the bowl for you? Good job.
Oops.
Now that we've got this all mixed together, let's see, did you do it? Good job. You did a good job. Okay,
Yeah.
now we're gonna add in 1 cup of milk. Now she uses whole milk. We don't do whole milk in our family. Lexi doesn't really drink milk. I only use it for baking. So I usually just do 2%. Like if my husband wants cookies and milk or something. But whole milk definitely makes the batter a little richer. So yeah, if you're going to make it, I would do the whole milk. But we only have 2% on hand most of the time. And I'm not always willing, especially right now, to make an extra trip in the grocery store just to get like a little quart of whole milk. So whatever milk you have on hand is fine. I probably wouldn't use skim though. All right. So we're going to dump in 1 cup of milk. So we have 1 cup of the self-rising flour, 1 cup of the sugar, and 1 cup of milk. And now you're going to really gently stir it so we don't make ourselves a mess. After you have, do you want some help?
Yeah.
Okay. It gets kind of thick when you mix the flour and the milk together because it's going to kind of resemble like pancake batter consistency almost. It's going to be kind of thick like that. That's what I equate it to.
Yeah.
And then at some point I switch over from using the whisk to an actual spatula because once you've gotten all the lumps out, then you can just use this spatula to stir things. And I just scrape the bottom to make sure that I got all of the dry flour sugar mixture off, just like I was doing pancake batter. And once I have done that, all that is left is to add in the melted butter. Now this is the only one that's not 1, it's a half a stick of melted butter. So you had the 1, 1, 1, and now this is a half a stick of melted butter. So you're going to do all that first, and the melted butter goes in last after everything is mixed together. Are you ready? Okay. You want to stir that in
It's
for me?
kind of hot.
Yeah, the melted butter can be a little warm, so are you going to stir that? Be very careful. So basically you're just going to stir the melted butter in to combine it. And that's it. That is literally your batter for the cobbler. It could not be any simpler than
And
that.
no egg. And no eggs.
Yeah, you know what? She brings up a good point. There is absolutely no eggs in this batter. So if you're a person that has a sensitivity to eggs or an allergy or something, then I would say this is the perfect cobbler for you. And you might be able to substitute a milk alternative. I've never tried, but if dairy causes you issues, you could probably substitute a milk alternative and then use like maybe a melted Crisco or something. I don't know. You'd have to play around with it.
Sometimes I sneeze.
Sometimes you sneeze. All right. So basically, we've got the batter. So you're literally just going to pour the batter in the pan. And I'm sure you're looking at me like, wait a minute, you didn't put the blackberries in there. But we're getting there. Just hang in with us. So, you going to help me pour this in here?
But be really gentle.
That's right. So basically, I'm just pouring the batter into this pan, my square disposable pan. I'm going to scrape what I can out of it. And you can see that this batter really does fill up the pan, and it goes up the sides. Alright. Easy enough. Now, you've got the batter in the pan. It's time for the blackberries. We're getting there. Alright. So basically the way this batter works is it's pretty thick and lush. So you can actually just drop the blackberries on top of the batter, and then the batter, because of that self-rising flour, the baking powder, it actually rises up around the blackberries. So then you'll get a few of the blackberries dotting through, but then there will be a nice crust on the top. It's like the perfect blackberry cobbler in my opinion. So here's what we're going to do, Lexi. You're going to watch me. I'm going to do one, and then you're gonna do one. So we're gonna drop one right in there, okay? And we're just gonna make a row of blackberries. It says to use 2 cups of blackberries, but also that's for if you're using a 3-quart.
This big one at the last.
Okay. That's if you're using like the big 3-quart one. Since I'm not, I can just get away with a little square container of blackberries. I don't know if that's necessarily 2 cups. It's probably 1 cup. But if you were going to use the big 3-quart one, you probably would need 2 cups because you would want blackberries to cover the entire thing. Keep going.
But sometimes you put.
Keep going. All right, start a new row. Start a new row right here. Lexi is a very good helper. There you go. That's good. Okay, keep going. Good job.
And I'm going to do this one now.
Okay.
And I will do this one.
She is painstakingly careful to pick exactly which blackberry, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
And
Start
sometimes
another
I
row.
do big ones at the
Actually, you probably need to put one right there. A little small. There you go. All right, start another.
Hard bass.
So that's it. We've got the blackberries now on top of the cobbler. And I always kind of go like this to get out any of the air bubbles. And then last but not least, we are going to take some more sugar. This is 1/4 of a cup of sugar. And it kind of depends on how sweet your blackberries are. But usually blackberries are kind of tart, so they do need this sugar. So you can use 1/4 of a cup. Now, you don't have to use the whole 1/4 of a cup since we're not using as many blackberries as the original recipe. And we're not spreading it out because I think the 1/4 of a cup is made to spread out over the 3-quart thing. So I always say have the 1/4 of a cup on hand. And then if you don't use it all, then so be it. I just try to sprinkle.
But not me.
I'll do half and you do half.
Yeah.
So I am trying to sprinkle an even layer
What's the even layer?
over the top with sugar. You don't want it bunched up, and that's what helps give it that sweetness, and it gives us that crispy crust. And you'll notice nowhere in the batter is there any vanilla. You really don't need it.
Do you have 2 half?
Now you are gonna put on some sugar, okay? Put some right there. All right. Just sprinkle it. Good job. All right. I think that's pretty good. And it looks like we didn't quite use all of it. There might be a little bit left in there, but that's okay. You can reserve the rest of the sugar for later because it will go on top of the cobbler when it's almost done baking. So basically, that's it. We've made the cobbler. So all you have to do is put it into an oven. You want to put it in a 350-degree oven for about 45 to 50 minutes.
And I will
And then-
pick up when it's cooking.
Yeah. And then you're going to pull it out and you're going to sprinkle another little bit of sugar over the top. It says 2 tablespoons, but just play it by ear. This isn't a big 3-quart one if you decide to make a smaller one. So then you sprinkle a little more over the top, and then you put it back in for another 10 minutes. So total cook time is an hour. And that really helps it get that golden brown sweet crust on top. And then that's it. You are done. So we are going to head and put this thing in the oven, and we will be back with the finished product. So we just put the cobbler in the oven, and it's got to cook for 50 minutes before we can add that last little bit of sugar for the last 10 minutes. So in the meantime, Lexi is going to make her Father's Day cards that my husband got at the store for her papa, which is my husband's dad, and her papa, which is my dad.
Hard base.
Cobbler is out of the oven, and it looks delicious. It didn't quite take the full 50 minutes. I just went until it was golden brown and then added a little bit of sugar and cooked it for another 10, and she was done. And Lexi, you have your cards, don't you, for Papa and Papa? So what should we tell everybody? Should we tell them Happy Father's Day? Let's say it together. Happy Father's Day! Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.